Howdy folks, Chris LaRose here of LaRose Hat Company, and I wanted to do a video update of just some of the fabrics and hats and things that I've been working on, just to show you what I've been doing. In the future I'll probably be doing some videos where I'll actually do certain pieces of making the hats, but I have some cool things to show you all. I guess we'll start with this one. So a while back I had done a hat called Candy Stripe, which is using this fabric. It was actually very similar to this. The other stuff was white, like stark white, with this red ticking stripe in it. That stuff I can't seem to find anymore, as fabric tends to dry up. So I figured I'd use this video to tell you about how the fabric industry is working these days, at least to my knowledge. A lot of times when a mill does a run of fabric, they'll do like 5,000 yards of it, and they'll start selling that 5,000 yards out to different fabric stores and different companies who make clothing and things like that. And then they'll start gearing up and making different fabrics. And a lot of times mills only ever do one run of it, which is crazy, because if you have something like this stuff, which is one of my favorite linings to use on canalman style hats, you got to get what you can get before it's gone, because then you can't get it anymore. So this stuff, one of my favorite ones, and I bought up a bunch of it, but I can't get it anymore because I don't make it. So that's what happened with this stuff here with the Candy Stripe. So I found this stuff. It's kind of like an off-white or a yellowed. It looks very heritage, I guess is the new name that they call this stuff, heritage stuff, or antebellum colors, kind of the subdued colors, but it looks pretty darn cool. And I used it in this Christmas style hat. Sometimes folks like using this combination with the blue indigo to do kind of like a 4th of July or American themed hat too, which is pretty cool. But since we're coming up on Christmas and not too long, I wanted to show you guys this one. Also have the standard Santa shop cap, matching green thread, bright red top, green brim and band. So there's that. Back to talking about the fabrics. Like I was saying, some of this stuff you just can't get anymore, whether it's they just did one batch of it or the mill goes out of business. So there is a bunch of stuff that the mill is just gone. For example, this one. So this is a really cool wool. It's like a homespun wool, and if you can tell in there, the weave is really loose, and it's just a really neat fabric. Looks super old-fashioned. It's actually what my hat's made of, but mine changed colors over the year or so that I've been wearing it. But this mill went out of business, so that's what's making this stuff hard to do sometimes, because you get used to a certain fabric and it's just not around the next time you go to buy it, which kind of sucks in a way, but also it keeps you making some creative stuff. So two fabrics that I think are really cool are these ones. So I'm going to be trying to find some more of this. This is a really nice heavy soft cotton canvas with polka dots on it. One would think this would be easy to find, but alas, it's not. But I have enough for one more hat of this, so if anybody wants that, I have enough for one full polka dot hat. And I also have enough fabric left for one more full Big Smith replica, the original one being made back in the 1940s. believe it or not. So this was pretty wild and loud for back then, but it was old, so that's pretty cool. Another thing is I figured out how to do leather brims. I'm going to be working on perfecting this over time to make it so that the brim can go in easier. This one I did with my machine, but for leather brims, believe it or not, the order is way different. A lot of times if you're doing a cloth brim, you can just put the brim in last and then stitch down around the outside with your machine. When you do a leather brim, since you can't pin it in there or without leaving pinholes in there, you have to do it backwards. So you have to put the bands together, put the brim in the band, and then sew the tops together right there. And then it leaves a raw edge, which I chose to cover up with this twill tape here. In the future, I'm thinking the way to do this is probably by hand stitching all of the leather brims in. So it's going to be a little bit more time consuming, but I think it's going to make a nice hat in the future. And then I can use thicker, heavier leather for that too. This is a vegetable tanned and then oil dipped mid-weight cowhide, which I think is going to look real nice. I made this for a guy who does 1870s reenacting, but it's also the style, the canalman style, that a lot of motorcycle guys wore. So you'd see this in the 1940s, almost like a what was it, Marlon Brando kind of hat. But yeah, this one was pretty cool. The guy sent me some fabric that he dyed himself. He had some specific colors that he was going after, and he dyed the fabric himself and then sent it to me, and then I made the hat for him. This is one of the historic linings, 1800 style cotton linings. This hat and the one I'm wearing is exactly the same. Well, not exactly. It's very much the same. The difference is this one stands a bit more proud because it's a bit of a crispy fabric, as opposed to the real thin wool, which drapes whichever way I want it to. And a lot of times people will train it, you know, so you can train it forward, or you can train it to the side, or train it to the back like I do. This one will be harder to do that with because of the stiffness of the fabric, but it can be done. So yeah, there's that. Yeah, I guess just a quick recap of the fabric industry. It's always changing. It's always different. You buy what fabrics you can get while you can get them, and then hope that they're still there when you go back to order them again. And a lot of times you can find some really cool stuff that you don't often see. A lot of times I'm using vintage fabrics, like this denim is the denim that I use the most on almost everything that I make. And this is vintage 1960s or 1970s American woven dead stock denim. I bought every single scrap of this that I could find, and so I have enough for probably another year or so. But so you can find some cool stuff and vintage stuff, which makes everybody's hats a little bit more special, as opposed to something you get off the rack at a shop that it's exactly the same as everybody else's. So yeah, so the fabric industry is always changing. A lot of it's out of business. We had something like 100 mills in America in the old days, and now I think we're down to 5 for all sorts of different fabrics. We're losing them left and right. They're all getting outsourced overseas. But we can still find it, so that's good. It's just difficult. So yeah, got Christmas style hats. The new candy stripe canalman style hats, custom dyed fabric sent to me by a customer with the new leather brim. We have the striped Big Smith style and the polka dot style that I still have enough for another hat out of each of those. So let me know if you're interested, folks, and next time I think I'll be doing a video where I go through the steps of making one of the hats, so you can tune in and watch what I'm doing there. But until next time, take care, and I'll see you around. Thank you.